Hey Jews, I am not here to be your friend. I'm here to wake you up. So if you're looking for the truth in reality, in what's happening in our year 5786 to the nation of Israel, maybe you're having a Jewish awakening. This is the third video that I'm doing. I in the first video explained about how Isaiah says awaken, awaken, and that this is all a process that has been foretold to us in the Torah, that there will come a day that the Jews that have been scattered all over the world in the exile will be collected and returned to the Holy Land of Israel with a kingdom of David to serve God again. Begalui, the Geulah, in a way that is open. Right now we're in exile. It's a certain way that the nation of Israel is interacting with reality, which we can know a lot about, and God, and the way that God supervises creation, how he created reality with wisdom. These wisdoms are reflected in the laws that are in the Torah that he gave to his holy nation in order that we can live in this reality, which is not the proper way that reality should be. For this time, it is the proper way, okay? It is one spiritual dimension of reality, three physical dimensions, and one dimension, which is time. So that's 5-dimensional reality. So the spiritual also includes our souls, and the physical includes our body. And the time is the time of our lives, but it's also the time of reality. So in this video, what I'm hoping is that you will understand that this information in the Torah is for all Jews. All Jews have a holy soul that's connected to God. That's why God gave his holy nation the laws to live by, so that our souls will not be diminished to the point where we are not able to hold the light of God in this lifetime, which is a combination of spiritual and physical. So a lot of the things in our physical reality are not good for the health, let's just say, of our soul. And the soul is like the driver if the body is like the car. Okay, so the soul, we should be more understanding how to live. And our purpose is actually a spiritual purpose. That's the purpose of the holy nation of Israel. It's a spiritual purpose. So we need to know all of these things. So this I've explained in many different videos. I also have a playlist called Step by Step Understanding Torah and Judaism. All Jews should need the Torah, every single last one of us. So what I'm suggesting is perhaps a different way to understand this video. And that is, I'm suggesting we go and now let's learn. And after this video, you will go and learn for yourself so that you understand perhaps the things that I'm going to say in this video. You understand for yourself. And then after you've gone and done that and contemplated this and thought about this and tried to gain for yourself this knowledge, so you will know what's happening in our reality. So you will understand the purpose of your life as a Jew and the purpose of the holy nation, so that you can correctly go through these experiences that we're going through in our times, like October 7th, like what happened on Bondi Beach. You can go back and look at the Holocaust with all of the information that we now know. Okay, we have the benefit of time now to try to re-examine where we are as a nation, where we're supposed to be. Okay, because it's not something the redemption is not something that we're just waiting for and it could or could not happen. It's a concept, it's whatever. That's going to be the end of time. So we have to understand also time. And I feel like this is what it's discussing is time. Time is a variable in the reality. It's one of the variables that is related to our spiritual level as a nation. The more light, meaning the higher level the higher spiritual level that the whole nation, each and every one of us Jews obtains, the more light comes into our reality, the more light of God, and it hastens the redemption, meaning it shortens time. The less light that we bring in by having a low spiritual level, each one of us Jews, less of a connection to God, less living by the laws, which would make our reality perfect, shalom, with peace. The less that we do that, the longer time is given for different reasons. So, but at the same time, evil, the unholy side of reality, the unholy spiritual forces, only are in our reality because of time. Time gives them existence. Time gives them existence. I did a short about time using the movie Lucy as a, something we can try to understand about time. But so again, time will end. We are in the period of time of our reality that is called the end times, and there's a lot of prophecies. So today we're going to talk a little bit about Joel 2:25. I want you to think about this, what we're going to say, and then we're going to connect it to Psalms 90, 14 and 15, hopefully, where we understand also from Kohelet, this is King Solomon, okay, that King Solomon says basically everything in this reality that's connected to the physical and material for a certain amount of time is Hevel Hevelim, and we can trust him because he was the king of the world, basically. He had the most wisdom and understanding, knowledge. He had the most money. He tried everything, and he tells us it's all Hevel Hevelim. It doesn't matter how much money you amass in this world. I mean, everything at this point, it's like, what are we doing it for? How many games are you going to go watch? How many movies are you going to see? How many worthless books that give you no actual information about reality are you going to read? How many spiritual paths are you going to go and explore in India and in the Far East before just actually learning the actual information and understanding that your consciousness is basically also connected to your soul, your spiritual level. So God made different creations at different levels of consciousness. And again, I try to explain all of this. So we have to understand what we think of sometimes as like holy men. It's like something, or the Kabbalah or the Zohar or whatever. It's something disconnected from us. It's something that can happen to us. It's something that other people obtain, but we cannot. And in fact, all that is just basically removing the layers of impurity that are covering your ability to reach a higher level of spiritual enlightenment in order to be able to hold the holy light, which will help you understand the information. So it's an intellectual thing, and it's also a spiritual thing. So, and there's ways that we increase our spiritual receptivity to this information so that we can just know about God, like our forefathers, Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, who knew all of this information before the Torah was written, and we learned about that with the help of the Rambam in Yesodei HaTorah 1. Okay, so I'm not going to go over that all again, but we need to understand that each one of us could be, they say in the Gemara, I don't remember which one it was, but that like a smart person, a chacham, is like a prophet. Okay, so prophecy is like God giving some very highly enlightened spiritual person who's practicing to be a prophet information, and then that is the wisdom of God, showing him something, giving him the knowledge, giving him this understanding so that he can go and teach it to other people, tell other people. But at the same time, or in a similar way, if you learn all of the information and you arrive at that same, so for example, now if a prophet says, something that he understood from God gave him that understanding. If you also understand that via the information, via the learning the Torah, via learning the wisdom, learning it, you basically arrive at the same place. Okay, so hopefully I explained that. So we all now have, after all this long exile, all the benefit of all the people who came before us, who had a higher spiritual level. And basically what Bina is processing the wisdom. So they've grinded it down for us and written a lot of books and showed us the way back to understanding this, back to reconnecting to God and doing the actual purpose of the holy nation. Performing the work, doing the work, rectifying our souls, fixing our souls, each one of us individually. My issues or whatever as a person, my body, my mind, how I grew up, what I perceived as what level of consciousness I was, under which belief system I was brought up in, basically. Okay, all of that is specific to me. You have something different. You were brought up differently. Maybe you went to the yeshivas and you learned to learn Torah in a certain way. But it doesn't mean you necessarily understand something. All of us have to evaluate our reality all of the time. Understand what's happening. What's the message? How do we understand this? And what do we know? We know that always God is with his holy people. Always. So when we see things that happen, like October 7th or Bondi Beach, we need to understand what is going on with actual information, which is in the Torah, which is the wisdom. So again, now at our time, we all have enough access to the information that never before we can all understand. So when we look at Yoel, the prophecy of Joel 2:25. I'm gonna grab it here. 2:25. Okay, very interesting, because he's talking in Yoel about a famine. He's talking about a bunch of locusts that take over the land and strip the vineyard bare, so it doesn't produce any fruit. And there's waves and waves of locusts. So now we're not going to read this just like on one level and think that it's literally going to be a bunch of locusts. But we're going to read that and understand that he's talking about different groups that basically destroy what's the vineyard of God. It's the holy nation of Israel. It's in the nation. So come along what God describes as a goy. A nation within comes within and eats what the one group of locusts destroyed. The second group of locusts comes in and eats up what's left, and so forth and so on, several different times, and there's no rebuilding in between. There's no rebuilding in between. But eventually there will be fruits that will come from this vine. So, and we see in other prophets, they also say similar things, like basically at the end of time, that there will be good fruits, meaning the continuity. If we look at our history as the holy nation of Israel, we see that the roots are Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. These roots of this tree, the tree of life. Then from there comes the 12 tribes, like the trunk. Then the branches are the 70 souls that went down to Egypt. We have to understand all this stuff. And then from there, we became a nation. And there's lots of different things that happen over the time. And at the end of time, though, there has to be fruits from this tree. What are the fruits? The fruits are Jews who are accomplishing the actual purpose of your life and as a Jew, and the purpose of the holy nation, which is basically to understand this, to get back to this understanding and awareness, this higher level of consciousness. Okay, because what we see right now is a lot of what we have termed sheeple, what we understand as sheeple, where our conscious level is being directed downward with faulty information, faulty belief, faulty way to understand our experiences, not true knowledge, not true understanding what's really happening here and how God is involved here. So bringing us down to a level called chai medabel, sheeple. And sheeple says, King Solomon in Proverbs, the simpletons, okay, are easily misled because of our lack of knowledge. But we can all get knowledge now. Like I said, we're at the end of time. We have a lot of resources. We can learn in our own languages so that we do understand, just like Ezra made sure that the people, the exiles coming back from the very first exile to Babylon, when they came back to build the second temple, they all understood the Torah. They were only gone for 70 years. What happened there in those 70 years away from the temple and away from the connection? Their spiritual level fell so low. A lot of them didn't even come back. What happened to time? How did this all happen? So Ezra made sure that they understood the Torah there by translating it into Aramaic. So how much more so now? And that was also the life work of Rav Yaakov Kuli when he made Ma'am Loaz, which everybody should probably go and get in your own language so that you understand the Torah. So Ezra said there, we need to, they did it there and they repeated everything in Aramaic so everyone understood. So Ma'am Loaz, you're going to learn so much. That was the whole point, is that the common Jew, the Am Haaretz Jew, not the person who dresses up like a rabbi and makes his whole living just being a rabbi, making money off of this information that's our heritage. Every single last one of us can know and understand. And we can do this work of understanding, which is very satisfying. So again, everything that we're going to do that's just physical or just materialistic or it's hevel hevelim. It's basically for nothing. And there's no kind of experience that you're going to have here that's going to be worth wasting your time, because it produces no fruits that is what we're here to do. We're here to produce the good fruits, which is going to serve us also in Olam Haba, because we are soul and body. But once we die and we're no longer body, we're just soul. Something happens after we die, which we can know exactly what can happen. So we read this knowing that the locusts are different ideologies, different things that came in and stripped the vineyard and the vine bare. And that in between there's no way to recover from that. So it says in Yoel 2:25, I will repay you for the years that the abundant locusts, the chewing locusts, and the demolishing locusts, and the cutting locusts, my great army that I sent among you, consumed. So once again, nothing is happening in reality independent of God. God sent these locusts. Also in the Gemara in Sanhedrin 63 and 64, the men of the Great Assembly ask God, basically, they're saying, why must the Erev Rav basically dance amongst us still? This is what caused the Holy Temple to be destroyed, because these people that are amongst us, okay, these locusts are the Erev Rav that came out with us from Egypt. Pharaoh sent them with us. They attached themselves to Moshe Rabbeinu. They believed in God and in Moshe Rabbeinu. But God didn't let us know where Moshe Rabbeinu is buried, because he knew that these people form cults around teachers and they influence the tmimim, the simpletons amongst us, to follow them, the simpletons who have no knowledge and understanding and wisdom for themselves. So there's 4 kinds of Jews, like we learned in the Agadah for Pesach. There's the smart Jews, the Chachamim. There's the wicked Jews. So you've got the smart Jews. You have the wicked Jews. You have the simpleton Jews. And you have the ones who don't even know how to ask a question. So also, the rabbi who was a friend of Rav Yaakov Kuli, Rav Yaakov Kuli, Zichronan Livracha, he died before he completed and his vision for compiling an anthology of the Torah so everybody would understand. So his friend took over, Rav Yerushalmi, and in his introduction, he also says this. which is very interesting because, again, I was thinking about this way back a few months ago, and I was thinking, that I know that Eliyahu Hanavi wrote the Agadah for Passover. So I started thinking about the 4 different kinds of Jews. And I said, we can all be smart Jews now, all of us, because we have all of the information. We have it in our own languages that we can go and understand and make sense of reality, which is the purpose. Which is also our inheritance, says the Rambam in Yesodei HaTorah 1. So, and then Rav Yerushalmi also wrote that there's 4 kinds of Jews, and he said because of the Passover Agadah. So I'm like, wow. So the things that you think are verified by the rabbis who smart them before you, who understood them. Everything that you think should have a source in the Torah, and not just because some guy said that. So now we're reading Yoel, and he says that God is going to repay us this time. So if we're talking about a physical locust, whatever, wouldn't he repay us just the physical abundance that they ate? So it's this time, because if we understand that the time of our lives, if we're toiling in things that are hevelim, that have no actual purpose, and at the end of the day, they're not that satisfying. You're working in whatever job you're doing to support yourself, to live, to survive. How's that? That's not building for you your eternal world, which we're told in the information that this world is temporary. It's like a test. It's just for a certain amount of time. And at the end of that time, there will be a fully spiritual reality for eternity. And that's the real source. So the concept is to understand this reality with that information, and also build for ourselves something that will last, which is the true purpose. And in this world, if we're servants of God, which we understand, then the work that we do serving God is very pleasant and very, very, very wonderful and very purposeful. So even if what I'm doing is cleaning my home on Thursday, getting prepared for Shabbat, it's the most meaningful work that I've done, even though I've owned my own company. I've traveled the world. I've met with, very, very interesting and powerful people. And none of that is, I realize now that all that I did, all that I toiled in, all the energy of my youth was basically for nothing. Okay. And even all the pleasures that I had are not the same pleasures that I have now, understanding this connection with God and trying to strive for more understanding, more knowledge, living my time, the rest of my time of my life, or the rest of the time of this reality, in a proper way that bears true fruits, real fruits, gets the real actual work done of the Jew. And that's what we learn in Psalms, in Tehillim 90, especially here in 14, where it says, Sab'enu b'boker chastecha u'neranena v'nismecha b'chol yameinu. Satisfy us in the morning with your kindness, that we shall sing out and rejoice throughout our days. Gladden us according to the days you afflicted us, the years when we saw evil. Meaning the years where I had an incorrect understanding of reality. My belief system was built on lots of different things. Then I came to my own conclusion that something about my soul, which I went and looked for in India, some sort of spiritual information. Okay, all of this not true, and now I understand that. I also understand where that information came from, the spiritual information that I was previously interested in. So everything is making sense, Baruch Hashem, and now I know. Now I really do pray to God, please. All of that effort that I spent with working and, amassing money and having experiencing the world, please, I wish to have whatever satisfaction I got out of that, or whatever I thought about myself that made me feel proud of myself or accomplished in any way. Please, God, may you establish the work of my hands now in the true work, in the real work, the real purpose. Help me achieve that with happiness and pleasantness, because yes, I also understand now by living by the Torah laws how good it is for me, how it's keeping me conscious, how knowing the laws and living by the laws are keeping me conscious. So I am aware of my thoughts. I know I'm directing my own thoughts. I'm thinking about the Torah, meditating, like King David says in Tehillim 1, meditating on the Torah day and night. Where are my thoughts even coming from? You know, who's helping me gain more wisdom? Who's directing me to put things together? This is what I'm also praying for. So this is because this is what the rabbis are telling us. This is the Mesilat Yesharim that I'm learning, that is achievable for everyone. These different steps. This is discipline. Disciplining ourselves, disciplining our minds. What shoe you put on first. If you don't know that, maybe you're just asleep in that moment. Maybe you're like a sheeple, just like an animal who can talk. If you don't know how much you ate. So these years that I spent personally, or these years that the nation spent nationally, doing things that had no real purpose and bear no real fruits because of all the ideologies and all of the things that wore us down and broke us down and took the wicked people and the simpletons to follow after. Okay, like again, the excommunicated ideologies of Hasidut, excommunicated 3 times, and they weren't. Again, the whole concept there is that they didn't dissolve or end that all the excommunications. They just stopped upholding them in order to stop Zionism. But now we can see the fruits of that is that now we both have both Zionism and Hasidut. So, and in Malachi, I mean, we see that improper work, even if it's spiritual improper work. So whether that's the work that I was doing to find God in India via yoga, that's not getting me. That was actually making my soul more and more unholy, more and more tameh, impure. But even if you think that you're serving God and following this excommunicated information of the Hasidut that was excommunicated, you're still not doing the work. And if you're a simpleton and you're just kind of mixed in, like now we see in a lot of the Haredi or Orthodox communities, which either they're Orthodox and Zionism or Orthodox and Hasidut at the end of the day. So that's also not getting the work done. That's also grinding water, basically. You're not doing it at the right time. You're not doing the right things. You're not understanding why you're doing anything. And so your work is not producing anything. And that's why in Malachi it says just shut the door on that kind of service. Just stop it. Each one of us, says Joel, needs to come to terms with our souls and with God, and to repent, at least the time of our lives that we continue on here, the time of reality before the redemption, which is going to end time, end evil, and end this incorrect concept of reality. We will all know this. All of this information is in the Torah. If we all learned and understood exactly all about the Torah, we would just know what we're going to know when we all become prophets, when God reveals himself at the end of time. But we can all know that now. We can be chachamim. So we can be the smart Jews. And we should be the smart Jews so that our whatever we're doing here in our reality is pleasant to us and it bears good fruits. And Isaiah in 27 says that at the end, good fruit will fill the world. The entire world. Why? Because Jews are spread out all over the world, and once every single Jew understands, attaches themselves to God, follows the laws, keeps Shabbat, makes it holy, honors that day, gets the blessings, start to heal your soul. Because Isaiah also says we're all sick. We're all sick and we don't even know we're sick. Malachi says we're all suffering under a curse and we don't even know it. Don't even know it because we have very little understanding. So a lot of us Jews, we say, okay, and a lot of the Orthodox Jews say, we want the Mashiach. We're waiting for the redemption. But this is hollow, hevel, coming from our mouths because we're not changing the way we're serving God. We're not changing the way we understand. We're not going back to the causes of the effects that we see in our reality and try to understand them with some wisdom, like smart people. No, we are being misled like a bunch of simpleton sheeple to give our attention, our purpose, our life work to other ideologies that are destroying the nation, physically destroying the nation, spiritually destroying the nation. And each wave comes more and more and more. Why are they here amongst us? So the men of the Great Assembly in Sanhedrin 63 and 64, they said they fasted for 3 days. They petitioned the heavens. They said, why must they dance amongst us? Dance. In the Petek, a note came down with a hand from the heavens and it said, Emet, because each one of us needs to find the truth. If you can't find the truth from looking into your reality and seeing how beautiful creation is and how perfect creation is and how, contemplated the golden ratio and contemplated the exactness and the interconnectedness and the intelligence. Okay, if you can't look for God and find God via the amazing trail that he's left for you to contemplate that he made you as a speaker with the ability and with the mind, a mind to ask these questions, then we will experience things that will cause us to go looking for the truth. Maybe we will experience a new world order that will cause us to question the reason why in our times when technology is readily available and distribution channels, everything should be getting better, and yet everything is getting worse. Why? Why? Who are these people? What is anti-Semitism? What happened on October 7th? That the most secure border in the world after all of these years. Didn't Israel win like a bunch of wars miraculously in the past without all of this technology that the startup nation has? What happened there on Bondi Beach? Is God not with his people? The Chabad people that are spread out even more, even to where God didn't send his people? And by the way, he scattered us all over the world so that the other nations wouldn't destroy us. If we were all in the same place, they would just destroy us. But now come the Zionists to put us all in one place. And guess what? There's more Jews that are killed in the land of Israel, in the state of Israel, than anywhere all over the world. That's just a fact. So now, after October 7th, a bunch of Israelis are leaving Israel because they don't feel safer. But yet, all over the world, Jews are trying to come to Israel because they don't feel safe because of the anti-Semitism. And yet we have no understanding. All we have to do is reattach our consciousness to the objective truth and reality, which is in the Torah. It has not changed. God has not changed. The Torah has not changed. And we, the children of Jacob, of Yaakov Avinu, of Israel, we are still here, says Malachi. So again, please go and learn all of these things, contemplate them, think about them make sense to yourself. And then if you want, let's have a conversation. Okay? But this is all I can do, is try to explain how I'm understanding reality, how I'm searching for the truth, how you have to search for the truth so it makes sense to you. You might have to change your entire life because you will not understand anything unless you purify yourself, meaning you have to follow the laws of the Torah. And you have to be very, very zehirut. You have to be very careful. That's one of the levels. So when we see a bunch of so-called religious people eating meat that is very questionable kashrut at this point because of the excommunicated cults that have now taken over, like the locusts that we learn about in Yule, and they're devastating us with the kashrut because a bunch of simpletons, think that God loves everybody and we should all just be happy. So, yeah, that's pretty much how I see everything. I'm hoping that everyone is starting to read also the prophecies and understanding why Isaiah is telling us over and over, awaken, awaken. You're waking up anyway. So, Now is the time to make sure that whatever rest of the time you have or we have as a nation is spent on work, on avodat Hashem, the work that is purposeful, the work that it will bring you also fruits for eternity. You're basically building your garment for Olam Haba. What does that mean? Just very briefly. Okay, we're a soul in a body. There's a certain way that the soul interacts with the body. That's why a lot of the mitzvot are to make the body healthy so that the soul can go in it. So just like that, after we die, the soul is like, it's no longer in the body, but it has to go into something else, which is basically what we're building by following the laws and doing a lot of the things. We're building our garment that when we die, our soul is going to go into that garment. This is from the Zohar. So we have to understand a little bit more about reality, about our soul, about our body, about our lives, about death, about this world, about the world to come. And all of this information is in the Torah. We can just believe it because of whatever, but we can also know it. So believing something could be true or not true. You could be wrong. We have to re-examine and make sure we understand ourselves. And we can do that again because we have the most information in all of our languages that we can learn and know and understand for ourselves and not be easily misled.